What's up everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Gwent, and today we're playing the new Banished seasonal event, which is an alternate game mode in which, once we're done selecting our starting hand, our entire deck gets banished. That means no tutor cards, and there are actually some cards that get stronger when neither player has a deck. Today we'll be looking at a modified version of the meta deck for this event, so let's go give it a look. So today we'll be playing a Nilfgaard Imposter deck that will be a modified version of the meta deck for this event, now including several new cards from the Price of Power expansion. Because neither player will have a deck in this event, that also means no drawing cards in between rounds, so rounds will generally be shorter, meaning that point slam cards with little to no setup are generally the way to go. So that's what we'll be doing here, combined with some removal. And the key difference between this deck and our previous versions of this deck is that we are now getting rid of Ciri Nova, which was previously a way of getting 8 points worth of resilience, which is pretty good, but it also meant that we couldn't exceed 9 provisions with any of our other cards. So now with no Ciri, that means we can use Vilgefortz Renegade to swap one of our cards in our hand with a card from our opponent's graveyard, and because graveyards don't get banished, this still works, so we can steal one of our opponent's best cards and get rid of one of our worst cards. The other new card we're adding is Rience, and although that deployability won't do anything, the order is especially strong because with 0 cards in our deck, that means that this will completely destroy one of our opponent's units. So that's the big idea, but now I'll flip through the deck to show you what else we have. Yennefer is just straight up removal. Cadaverine, we do have some poison, so we can remove cards with that, and of course create a copy of some of our opponent's biggest units with this card. Tibor, with no cards in our opponent's deck, that means this is just a 13-point slam. Vilgefortz, with no cards in our opponent's deck, means this is just complete removal. Shilard Fitz-Oesterlin is a source of carryover because our opponent will not be able to hide that damaged card back in their deck in between rounds in the mulligan phase. Then Henrietta can sort of give us some carryover if we use our own leader ability early and get a different leader ability from her. Dudu, we can use to transform into our opponent's best card. And then the Urcheon is another modification that I made this time. It is an engine, which means you want to try to play this either at the beginning of round 1, or if you know you're going to have a long round 3. But the difference between this and other engines is that once you don't have any more turns to do the boosting, you can convert the Urcheon into Duni for a few extra points, making this viable even in a short round. Then Imperial Golem, with no cards in our opponent's deck, is a 12-point slam. Vanhemar, combined with our leader ability, will destroy one of our opponent's units. Then, assuming our opponent plays some big cards, Rico will also be big. Adrenaline Rush, given how rounds will be short, there may not be very many units on the board, so it should be fairly simple to get this to work. Just make sure you use it early enough that you don't get stuck with multiple units in both rows. And Nilfgaardian Knight, another potential point slam, especially early in a round. Raw Tosser for more poison. Red Haze for more removal. Ard Feainn Tortoise is just a cheap point slam. Elder Bear, also a cheap point slam. And then Fangs the Empire for more poison removal. And then Toussaint Knight-Errant for some damage. So there's the look of the deck, and overall it is quite simple. Play cards that are worth a lot of points, and when your opponent plays something big, remove it. As I said, this is a modified version of the meta deck for this event. That means a lot of people will be playing something very similar, so bear in mind you will probably see a lot of mirror matches out there, but those are always a fun test. And with that in mind, let's go see it in action. Alright, so going up against Nilfgaard here, and they'll go first. Okay, so let's get rid of the Elder Bear. I love Vilgefortz. Maybe get rid of the Toussaint Knight-Errant as well. Alright, they'll try pass. Okay. That's a little odd. I guess we'll play our Toussaint Knight-Errant. And win round 1. Okay, and let's play our Nilfgaardian Knight here. And it's enough points that if they don't surpass this on their next turn, then I think we'll pass. Okay, it's Thanet Turncoat, so that is not enough points for them to pass us. So we could either pass here and force them to play another card, in which case we'll be on even cards in round 3, or we could Adrenaline Rush, which I kind of like on this occasion. Alright, it's Bribery into Tibor. And they lucked out, because that is, I think, the only card they could have played that would have let them catch up to us. But alright, now let's go Dudu and transform into Tibor. And that is good, that they played a big card here in round 2, because that means that we can use Vilgefortz to get Tibor into our hand in round 3. Okay, now they have not caught up to us here. So I think this is where we pass. We'll be on even cards, if not potentially even a card up, in round 3. Though there are still some tempting options, like, say, playing our own Tibor directly, or setting up Rience so that we can destroy this Tibor, although that will take an extra turn. Yeah, you know what? Let's go with Rience. Of course, no deck, so that means no deployability here. The key is that our order will just outright destroy something. They'll use their leader ability, though. They may get Red Haze, in which case they can certainly destroy him. No, they'll go with Tibor. Oh, and I thought they were going to play him next to the other Tibor. I was going to say, I mean, you're just inviting this Red Haze. Alright, Assassination will be sufficient to take out Rience. Okay, and at this point, they've taken a 10-point lead. We could retake the lead with Tibor, but I think I would prefer if we were to save him. Does mean we'll be a card down in round 3 after they use their leader ability there to take the lead, but since they lost their leader ability, that's a sacrifice that perhaps we're willing to make. Alright, so they'll start with Renew and get one of those Tibors out. I think they still have another in their graveyard. They do. And so that is the obvious target for Vilgefortz. So let's use Vilgefortz now. And we'll get Tibor. And I think we want to give them Rot Tosser because we don't have any other sources of poison, so we can't actually remove anything with poison unless we get super lucky with using Henrietta to get their leader ability and play a poison card that they have from their hand, but that is very speculative, so I think we dump you. Alright, it's Master Mirror. Oh man, hold on. That could make using their leader ability very interesting. So I think let's play one of our Tibors. Right, they have Vilgefortz Renegade as well. I imagine that may have been to steal one of our Tibors, because yeah, I'm pretty sure we had Tibor in our graveyard and he's no longer there. But now let's use Imposter on their Tibor to get another one. And then that means we can use Henrietta to get their leader ability. And now we can play a card from their hand. And it does include Tibor, it does include Masquerade Ball as well, and Duchess's Informants. We don't have any bronze units. We will not ever have any bronze units, so this is going to be a dead card for them. They won't have Aristocrats for this, so that means Tibor is really their only threat here. Then again, they do have Master Mirror, so they could get other things as well. Okay, so there is their other Tibor. So we can either go with Tibor number 4 or Red Haze. I would love if, you know, they had a slightly bigger card next to Tibor. I suppose there's something to be said for getting rid of Master Mirror so they don't get some random legendary card that could fundamentally change the effectiveness of their hand. So maybe we do go for that route. And they'll forfeit. So we'll take the win. Alright, so going up against Nilfgaard here. And, okay, they'll go first. Okay, we have Tibor, that's big. We have multiple sources of poison, so we can definitely remove with the poison. Not a huge fan of having 2 Toussaint Knight-Errants. Let's get rid of at least one of them, if not another as well. Alright, they'll go with Fergus, which is a little odd since there's no one to give spying to. So then, in the interest of keeping pace, let's go with the Ard Feainn Tortoise. They'll go with an early leader ability. Wow. I mean, it's Tibor, yes. But that is very aggressive. And I'm thinking we probably pass here. Because they not only use their leader ability, but they played a pretty strong card with their defender. So I think we pass here. That means they'll win, but they'll have played one more card than us. So they will get round control. But having used their leader ability that early, I think, is quite significant. Because they seriously overcommitted. And they're still playing. Wow. Okay. Very aggressive. Maybe they thought we couldn't keep pace with their Tibor, and we can at least tie them with our Tibor, or our Cadaverine. Though in both those cases, we would be tied 13-13, which means we would still need to play one more card, otherwise we tie in round 2, and since they won round 1, they'd win. So I think instead, what if we go Fangs the Empire, and give you 1 round of poison, and we'll try to encourage them to pass. They're going to keep on playing, though. Wow. I mean, of course, Tibor is not a bad target for poison, so we'll definitely follow up with the second round on him. Okay. Nilfgaardian Knight. We do have a unit for you to boost, so it's not that big of a play. Let's go Cadaverine here. And so now we've taken the lead, and we have 1 more card than them. They'll use Dudu to transform into Tibor, okay. I mean, we also have another Tibor source. Not to mention, we only need 2 points here to take the lead. So I think let's go Ard Feainn Tortoise. They'll go Musicians of Blaviken, and will they get Resilience? They will not, they'll get Poison. Which is somewhat significant, because of course, if we played Rot Tosser and put the Cow Carcass in between these two, then we might be able to remove the Musicians, and then follow up with the Fangs the Empire Poison on the Nilfgaardian Knight, for a total of 14 points of poison removal, versus what I was originally thinking would just be Poison Tibor, in which case it would have been 13. But if we did go for Tibor, they could play a card in between the Cow Carcass and Tibor, so maybe we do go Rot Tosser here. They will play a card in between to protect the Musicians. That does mean that some bigger cards will get poisoned instead. So now we definitely want to play Fangs the Empire, though, because otherwise this becomes our only source of poison, and it just becomes a 4-point body in round 3, and we don't want that, so let's take out the Nilfgaardian Knight in that case. Alright, now they're going to go Damien. And never, ever, ever use Damien against an Imposter's player, because, don't mind if we do. And now for our card, let's go with Nilfgaardian Knight. Alright, they'll pass. It is, of course, a little tempting to play here and get our leader ability back, but I think we'll settle for having 1 card advantage in round 3. Alright, so now let's go Imperial Golem. And we'll save Tibor for last. Alright, it's Letho Kingslayer. So they will transform into a, well, 5 power golem. He doesn't change power when he transforms. Then we use Adrenaline Rush. Last one is Vincent van Morlehem, and we don't have a status, so doesn't remove anything, and our opponent knows, so they forfeit. Alright, so going up against Nilfgaard here, and they'll go first. Okay, so we have at least a couple of sources of poison here between Cadaverine and the Rot Tosser. Not a huge fan of the Elder Bear, let's get rid of that. And more poison, okay. Let's get rid of the Toussaint Knight-Errant, I think. Alright, so they'll go with Magna Division. And that's an engine, but it's an engine that starts off quite weak, so I think we can definitely outpace them here. So we could either go with Tibor and just go with a huge point slam, or maybe we even go Shilard Fitz-Oesterlin for a little bit of carryover, weakening their strongest unit. And they'll go Master Mirror, okay. But they still have not put up very many points. So I think what we do here is we go Adrenaline Rush on Shilard Fitz-Oesterlin. That gives us a 2-point lead here. So that means they do need to play 1 more card. And we might pass after that. Alright, they'll go Dudu. That doesn't really work. You don't get the deployability on Shilard. So I think maybe we pass here. We'll give them the round 1 win. But they played 1 more card than us, and we are basically relying on the extra carryover we got from weakening one of their cards, whereas they did not do that with their Shilard Fitz-Oesterlin. So they will take round 1. Alright, then they'll dry pass in round 2. So they do have that card disadvantage, so we'll go Ard Feainn Tortoise here, I think. Take the round 2 win. Okay, now let's go Nilfgaardian Knight, because they don't have any units out there. So that means we don't need to worry about boosting them. Okay, they'll go Artorias Vigo to get Magna Division. And this round will be long enough that that card will get somewhat big. So you could even consider either having that be a poison target or even a leader ability target. But I think we have time to decide what we want to poison. So let's go with the Urcheon of Erlenwald now and start working on getting boosts from him. Alright, they'll go Redea. Then they'll use that tactic that they got. And Redea was an 8 power card. But remember, we played Shilard Fitz-Oesterlin, which reduced their strongest card down to a 1. So that means they did have something bigger than an 8. So maybe they had Tibor, or maybe they have Imperial Golem. In which case, one of those cards has just 1 power. Which means this might be the time to play Rico. The tricky thing is that their leader ability is probably going to either give them Tibor or Cadaverine, and if we have Tibor out there when they have Cadaverine, then they're going to get a Tibor. But I think that's pretty much unavoidable at this point. They'd have some way of getting a 13-point card no matter what, so let's go Rico. Alright, now they'll go Fangs the Empire. So that will poison our Nilfgaardian Knight, and presumably they have another source of poison in their hand somewhere. If not, then, well, they have some sources from our hand, and that Veil on Artorias Vigo actually could become a bit of an issue. So knowing that they are probably going to use their leader ability on their next turn and play either Tibor or Cadaverine, let's let them do that, and then we'll Cadaverine whatever their biggest card is. So let's go with Rot Tosser here, and we'll play it in between these two. Of course, Redea is the preferred target. Would have been Artorias Vigo as the other target, but he has Veil. Alright, it's, ooh, their location. Okay. Which they'll use to get, Viper, which are Mentor. Then they'll use their leader ability as expected. Will they go with Tibor or will they go with Cadaverine? Cadaverine does give them a knight and destroys ours, so that is technically the highest point play. They go with Rot Tosser? Maybe they knew that we were planning on Cadavering whatever card they got from this. So they deliberately went small. So in that case, let's play our Rot Tosser here to take the hit from the Nilfgaardian Knight. And we'll use his Cow Carcass over here just to try to get someone poisoned. Now, do they have other poison cards in their hand? They may. Right, congratulations. You put the Ard Feainn Tortoise from our graveyard into our deck, and our deck gets destroyed, so it doesn't do anything at all. And they'll go with Vilgefortz. Looks like they're using it on Rico. So that gives them some removal. So then our Cow Carcass will destroy one of their cards. And now we have Cadaverine, Tibor, and our leader ability. So I think now we go Cadaverine on Rot Tosser, although it's not as big a unit as Redea is, it will actually remove that Rot Tosser. So for that reason, it is worth slightly more points. Alright, then they'll go Shoop Stay Off. Now, this is not the time to be playing this card, unless they're not going for the Resilience. They go for something a little bit higher risk, higher reward, in which case it could be almost anything. They damaged some of our units. Fortunately, one of them was the Urchin, who we are, of course, going to transform on this turn. So that means that damage will get negated. So now let's go with Imposter on Redea. Then let's play Tibor. And let's convert the Urchin into Dooney. That means we have a 19-point lead here. They have one card left. It's Cadaverine. They can use it to remove and, oh, make a Nilfgaardian Knight. It is almost enough, but we still emerge victorious. Alright, so going up against Nilfgaard here. And they'll go first. Alright, so looking at our hand here, we only have one source of poison with Cadaverine, so we'd like to get another so we can actually remove something with poison. So let's get rid of Red Haze. And Yennefer is a form of removal, but maybe we get rid of Ard Feainn Tortoise and try to get another source of poison. And we did get it. Okay, so that's good. Alright, they'll go Nausicaa Sergeant. It's just 4 points, but it does have some long-term potential. So that would suggest that they're looking for a long round 1, in which case, why don't we instead play for a short round 1 and pass relatively early? So let's do that by going with Shilard Fitz-Oesterlin, which will outpoint them, at least in the short term, and will also weaken the strongest card in their hand, giving us some carryover value. Alright, now Masquerade Ball. Oh, okay, yeah, I think we're passing here. That is quite the commitment to drop that so early, so don't mind if I do, but I'm out of here. So of course that means they will win round 1, but at what cost? At that point, they invested so much. Alright, they'll go with a 1 power Imperial Golem. That is the card that we must hit with Shilard Fitz-Oesterlin, so it certainly worked. Went from a 12 to a 1, so well done, Shilard. And despite that having 1 power, we can still transform into a full power version with Dudu, so I say we do that. And maybe our opponent knew that they were in quite a rut there, because they disconnect. So there's a look at a new version of the Nilfgaard meta deck for the Banished seasonal event. If you liked the video, then make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, and leave a comment down below to let me know which other cards, archetypes, and factions you'd like us to experiment with next. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.